So now let's look at a little further about the way we look at the tumor has been evolved. So in the past, we see tumor as a pack of cancer cells, crowded cancer cell only. Now we are start looking at inside, we realize there's not only pure cancer cells, but there are cancer cells and our original host stromal cells are coexisting. So the viewpoint of looking at tumor as now as a complicated or complex tissue. So here is a drawing, a cartoon that reductionist viewpoint previously be considered as a cancer tumor as just a pack of cancer cells. Now we look at inside, we realize there is not only these cancer cells, there are blood vessels, which means there's a endothelial cells, there are extracellular matrix and the collagen producing cells, so-called fibroblast. Also, this cancer as a sustained inflammatory source, making this, there are surveilling immune cells getting in. So it's almost like complex tissues. So even some people can say malignant tumor as a kind of new type of organ. So when we define an organ, there will be a major business cells, so-called parenchyma. So that parenchyma tissue as a tumor as an organ, so that is a tumor cell. But then there are other supporting cells. So for example, this picture is another cartoon showing cancers in the tumor. There are cancer cells, but there's also host stromal cells and blood vessel and extracellular matrix. And these host stromal cells are connective tissue cells of an organ, such as including fibroblasts, immune cells, or vasculature cells, such as endothelium. So malignant tumor composes like one tumor cell, second is host stromal cell. Now let's consider this even more microscopic viewpoint. So this is coming from a newer development and understanding. So looking at inside the tumor, now not only tumor cells, not only cancer cells, even our understanding has been furthered that we're now talking about even cancer as a tissue contains stem cells. We call cancer stem cell or stem-like cells. So why this is important? Because stem cells are more resistant to death, and even majority of the cancer cells can be died from our anti-cancer treatment. Maybe cancer stem cells remain and then may repopulate and maybe the cause of recurrent tumor. So that in that aspect, cancer stem cells important new emerging idea and concept. And even there are fibroblasts inside the cancer, there's a new ways of looking at cancer associated fibrous, or we call CAF cells. So these CAF cells are, we consider it's different from normal fibroblasts that we may promote the tumor and cancer. And of course, a blood vessel containing endothelial cell, not only endothelial cells, outside of the blood vessel, there are another type of cells which is important for blood vessel maturation, and that's called pericytes. And of course, there are immune inflammatory cells and invasive cancer cells. So the viewpoint is now in the primary tumor, which means the original site of the tumor, and that microenvironment kind of interaction of tumor cells and microenvironment now becoming an important to understand, to develop a better treatment and to understand the progression of the tumor cells into cancer. So when it invades the neighboring tissue, then this invasive tumor should have a different microenvironment. What about when it goes to distant site or metastatic site? Then that metastatic site is in different organs, so it has also different microenvironments. So the cancer cells experience in various stages different ways of interacting in a influential microenvironment. So in the end, both the parenchyma, or I mean in this case cancer cells, and stroma of the tumor will contain distinct cell types and subtypes that collectively enable the tumor growth and progression. So especially immune inflammatory cells present in tumor, it turns out that the immune cells are supposed to surveil, and those cancer-like cells, immune cells should be attacking and killing them. But interestingly, the tumor cell and tumor microenvironment sometimes make that environment into more favorable for tumors. So even giving signal to these inflammatory cells, not only they are supposed to tumor killing cells, but even they turn them into their, not an enemy, but their like co-workers, such as making them tumor promoting subclasses of inflammatory cell. So which is a quite interesting and important aspect of looking at the tumor. So now we discuss about hallmarks of the cancer, and next time we will discuss about the causes of cancer and cancer metastasis more further.